Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow Volume 2 review. Toward the end of 2021, J-Novel Club released the first volume of Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow, which proved an interesting take on the usual isekai fare. Now the series returns for its second outing, it is time to find out if it proves and is enjoyable a read. When we reunite with Keisuke and Nito, we find them continuing their travel across the world. Sick of driving around without a map, Keisuke suggests to seek out a town where they might be able to come across something to indicate where the world they are and where they go next. This leads them to a small village that also houses a temple, which the two decide to stay at for a few days. At first, Keisuke believes the temple to be abandoned, but it's not long before this notion is dispelled when he meets an old woman called Fago, who comes to the temple each day to clean. Also staying at the temple is Charles, a young woman and fellow traveler. In search of the end of the story she once read because the temple houses a large library. Keisuke hopes they are able to find a map, but rather than spend the time searching for it, it's not done before our protagonist finds himself wrapped up in the story of Fago and Charles. And turns out that Fago lives close to the temple, and she's not the only one. Not too far away, there is a theater which is home to Jill and Paula, and a little way further lives the guinea pig person, Monty. It's not just a coincidence that these people all live so close together, and as Keisuke spends more time with them, he comes to realize that they are all connected and these connections are important to them, even if the relationships have become strained. Before they set up once more, Keisuke dreams of bringing the group together and rekindle their feelings. After all, in this isolated world, they have nothing besides one another. And to make it gather so far, instead of being somewhat episodic, this book simply has one storyline, and I'm undecided as to whether I like this change in direction from author Kasamidori or not, as the previous structure worked so well, but ultimately I think it's worked out fine in the end. There are certainly enough characters here where even if you're not invested in one of them, you find someone else to care about, and in a strange way, I suppose that's reminiscence of the first book. One of the big storylines of this release is centered around Paula. A wannabe dancer became estranged from her family after coming out as a being transgender. Initially, I was quite worried about this theme when the author introduced it, given that Japan doesn't have a great reputation for handling LGBTQIA+ content, but to my surprise, Kasimidori did a great job with Paula's story. It doesn't gloss over any of the hardships of being transgender, nor does it make light on anything. Some of the describing of Paula are a little heavy-handed and lean into a muscular guy and the dress stereotypes. But this is a setting in which being transgender isn't particularly well understood, and so it makes sense that the cast who are from this world are very sensitive with their reactions or mannerism. I'm largely willing to let it off the hook here is since Keisuke, who knows better from originating from Earth, handles the whole thing more tactfully. It is clear the author has no intended malice. And like I say, the storyline itself is solid and thoroughly explores Paula's feelings and circumstances, which more than makes up for any small misgivings I may have had. The other thing I appreciate about this book is that it shows a divide between Keisuke, who is an otherworldly and has found happiness traveling with Nito, and those who have lost everything in this world and have all about giving up in life. Those relationships are the big themes of this book, and it's interesting to see how Keisuke's optimistic personality rubs against the rest of the cast. While I like the short story approach of the first book, I don't think this kind of storyline was only possible with this change, an approach that I think it has paid off well. It certainly makes it a highly recommended read, given how well it all comes together. As previously mentioned, Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow Volume 2 has been brought to the West thanks to J-Novel Club, and it's available digitally. The series continues to be translated by MPT, and the translation reads well, no issues. I especially appreciate how the translation manages to stick to the right pronouns for Paula right from the off. This is also the current volume in Japan as of June 2020, with no signs to volume 3, but if this is the end of the series, then it's a fairly good conclusion, so I don't think readers should be worried about that. Overall, Goodbye Otherworld, See You Tomorrow ends up being another rewarding read, despite a change in direction for the author. If you enjoyed the first book, then there is no reason not to continue on here. I also think the fact that LGBTQIA+ aspect is handled so well means that this series is now recommended to all new audience who might not have looked at it before. 9/10.